Action.
Megan, if I'm being action. Hey, well, our topic today is we're going to start on our journey of building our Adirondack chairs.
Woohoo!
And we're going to start with our base. Our base starts with a part called our back legs. Now, obviously, you're going to be using two of them. I will be making a full-size chair, and you guys will be making a 5/8 size chair. These patterns are located over there on the wall. Anytime you need a pattern, that's where you go, and when you finish with the pattern, you put them back. They should be labeled on here, and all the ones you guys are doing are 5/8 size. Alright? It's really important that your back legs are exactly the same. This is the part we'll be making right now. We're going to use a few different machines for this. We'll use the chop saw, which we went over yesterday, to make straight cuts and angle cuts. We're going to use the oscillating spindle sander, drills, and the disc sander to make this part. So, let's talk about it. Our first steps in making our back legs is number one, to get the material. The material you'll be using is just this pine, and this pine looks really nice. I either sanded up and stained or painted. This is a 1x6, and from our conversation about nominal size, a 1x6 is 3/4 on 5.5. I'm going to take my pattern, and I'm going to go ahead and pick out a nice spot on the board to trace it. The ends are not square. If you look at that right there, that is not a 90-degree angle right there, so I'm going to avoid using the ends. As a matter of fact, when I look at the ends, they have a little chatter right here, and that's from where it goes through the planer. I'm going to go ahead and trace my pattern on here. Do not trace the hole, because that's just for how it mounts to the wall. A good pencil works nice. And I'm just going to trace this out like so. Now I do have a knot right here that might come loose. It's not a big deal because this is more of the decorative side of the wood. Alright? I'm going to go ahead and trace out my other pattern right over here. I don't want to waste any material if I can. Basically from here on I can use for a different part. So I go back here, I'm going to trace this out, make a nice dark trace on here. Just like that. Our next step is going to be cutting out with the chop saw. So we'll bring it over to the chop saw, line up my cut, safety glasses on, tight against the table and fence, no loose knots, fingers out of the red zone, and just go ahead and make a cut. Wait till the blade stops spinning. I'm going to cut these apart here. This becomes a different part for us, and hopefully if you've done this correctly, these two legs are about the same length. Okay. Alright, cut. Alright, our next step, after we cut them to the correct length using the chop size, we need to rip them. You will not be ripping them, I will be doing the ripping, and you will be my assistant or my catcher. Okay? First things first, you need to be able to measure the thickness of your pattern. Remember, a ripping cut is with the grain, cross cut is across the grain. You need to go ahead and measure your pattern, and for the full-size pattern, it's 5 inches. Now, you are responsible for setting the saw. To set the saw, you lift this red handle, you move this to the appropriate spot right here, which is 5 inches. Ignore this gauge over here. Okay? Then you lock it down. Your job as the catcher is to help keep me safe and guide the board. Okay? So the vacuum has to be on. Get rid of the sawdust. We'll turn it on. Megan's only job is to help guide the board. She grabs it after it passes the red zone. Well, thank you, Megan.
Yeah.
Action.
All right, so your mission today is to do a couple things. Number one, you need to find the pattern for your back legs. You need to find a material for your back legs, which is on the back rack. You need to trace out your back legs on a board and cut 2 back legs out. Hopefully today you will also get me to rip them to the correct width for you. Any boards that you use, make sure you put your name on and label what the board is for. Also today you can be working on your measurements throughout the shop, and you can be working on updating your notes on the computer, or and also I need you to claim a locker in the back. 2 people per locker. Why don't we go back there and take a look at it. 2 people for each of those lockers. That's where you keep your stuff, your wood, your notes, etc., etc. The wood, let's take a look at that. The iron that we'll be using is right here in this pile. There's a bunch of 1x6s in there. All right? So, good luck.